McLaren just seeming to do some things that are completely unnecessary. I do somewhat think that this could be a result of Lando's reluctance to do and commit to team orders for Piastri when he was in a compromising situation. But overall, McLaren just seemed to really keep putting themselves in a position that is completely unnecessary and strategically seems dumb. Strategically seems dumb. It really does. I'm a bit disappointed in what McLaren has done, although the outcome worked out. Okay, Lando got the first place in the sprint, so they maximized points there. Piastri gets second place, getting the second most points, and of course, Max Verstappen the least amount of points in those top three finishing positions. I don't really know. I don't really know if McLaren have understood what they just potentially risked. I don't think McLaren. I think McLaren are. I think they're delusional right now. I do think McLaren probably go into it saying we called that just right. I do. Mechanic Mercedes says this was horrible. Can't believe Mercedes. Mercedes was absolutely ridiculously bad, aside from the sixth place. But then again, I told you last time, Mercedes, it seems like sixth place is where they will be. I called Russell sixth place last time, and that's what it is. And here it is now. We're sitting Alex Albon top 10, Lim Lawson in the top 10. Gasly coming alive here in Brazil, running damn near 2 spots away from being in the top 5. Hamilton is outside of the top 10. So yeah, that doesn't look good. But I just want to have a moment right here while we talk about McLaren for a second and their missteps and quite potentially their foolishness. I think what we just saw here in a situation that could have turned very ugly for them in normal circumstances, and it almost did. We saw McLaren and we heard McLaren talking about waiting until the last moment. Suspicious last minute ending of the safety car. And I gotta, Leon, I gotta agree with you on that. I do look at that oddly. I look at that safety car situation a bit odd. I look at the deployment of the safety car, VSC, of course, a bit odd. It seemed a bit odd to me, but I'm going to say that given the situation, that Hulk was trying to work that car and he was in control of that car was in motion. Maybe not so much in coincidence things lined up, but very suspicious looking. Mechanic Mercedes says McLaren should have been doing this 5 races ago. Brother, McLaren should have been doing this 5 races ago, but a lot better than they're already doing it now. Okay, because what we just saw was a team willing to risk safety car situations, which it ended up coming out. I'm telling you right now, the moment you saw at maximum, at the most last minute, the moment you saw a Haas smoking, you should have initiated that immediately. You took unnecessary risk. Okay, it worked out for you, but it could have very well worked out not for you. And it just, I don't know if they get it yet. And I think these situations happen to work out for them and they feel like, oh, we're in control this whole time. Kind of like Max Verstappen. I'm a 3-time world champion. I think I know what I'm doing. No, yeah, you do know what you're doing, but you're doing foolishness on track. And right now, I'm telling you that McLaren, they cost Lando. Lando had his own missteps, but there were moments where Lando definitely was in prime position and McLaren failed to realize what could be, and they lost moments they can't get back. McLaren has lost moments in the past where this gap at this point in time very well could be in the low to mid 20s. Low to mid 20s. The difference in that is Max Verstappen not finishing a race in points and Lando winning a race. I think they look back on time right now and they say, we messed up. You should. And Piastri Yo, Piastri is a dog. Piastri is a dog, and I don't have anything negative to say about Piastri even in this moment, because I ultimately feel that Lando kind of created the situation. Lando created the situation by his attitude and the direction, and as much direction as it took to get him to comply with team orders. And I never thought that left a good taste in Oscar Piastri's mouth. I never thought it made a good memory for Oscar Piastri. And I think it showed Piastri a bit more about Lando that maybe he didn't care for. And so I do believe Piastri was going to give that spot up, but I think he was willing to let Lando sweat as long as he could, even if I feel like Piastri would have been completely okay had a safety car came out and they would have never been able to pull that swap. I feel like Piastri would have been okay with that. Sylvia Wickella says Verstappen virtual safety car infringement been noted. And we know Piastri does, we know Max does this type of stuff. And big shout out to everybody. Do not forget, the qualifying later today will be the last opportunity for you to get your super chat entries in, just like Sylvia Wick has, just like Mechanic Mercedes has, just like Leon has, to get in as many super chat entries as you can so that you can walk away with this Lewis Hamilton collector's item. All right, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, I do think Oscar would have been okay with that. And I couldn't have been mad at him, although I would have had some things to say about team game, team play. You did say this, you didn't do that. I would have understood it, but I probably still would have criticized it a bit, but I wouldn't have been mad at the situation. Then let's go over here and let's look at Mercedes. Mercedes is meh. They are very meh. And I'm very shocked. I'm very shocked that Hamilton, as far back as he is right now, I think he's checked out. I think Hamilton, to some degree, has checked out. He's driving Senna's car later. He's out of here next year. The team have ultimately disrespected him, metaphorically spitting in his face with the contract negotiations, with Toto courting Max Verstappen in the public eye, with the quote that Toto offered up as in regard to Max Verstappen, with the rumored contract offer that Mercedes would have been proposing to Max Verstappen. I do think Lewis Hamilton is checked out. I do think he's checked out a bit. I think he's not really concerned about doing ultimately his best for this team. He's locked in the Ferrari next season. The contract is not negotiating. The contract is sealed, dealed, and done. Ferrari wouldn't be mad about it. Save yourself. Save your mental fortitude. Save your physical ability. Save your patience, your tolerance. Save all of that for when you get here to Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton, please. So, it's not great. It's not what Mercedes fans want to see, and Mercedes created this themselves. Colapinto having finished where he did finish, I'm cool with that. I don't think Logan Sargent could have done any better. So I'm totally fine with Colapinto finished. And also, I would like to say that Valtteri, while the hopes were there that he was going to have some miraculous type of placement here, it's not going to be. It's not going to happen. This team, this car is not good. Leon says, I would have been checked out in the beginning of the season. I'm definitely not mad at you right there, Leon, for that. I can't even be mad at you for that, brother. I don't even blame you for feeling that way, nor would I blame somebody who has been through what Lewis Hamilton has been through for the past few seasons in a very horrible, despicably built car. I would not be mad at you for that whatsoever. I don't think anybody would or should hold that against you. Also, we see that the Ferraris not quite as strong as some might feel they could be, but do not forget there are changes that are able to be done here after this sprint race before qualifying later today. So they still have a moment of opportunity to do some dialing in. Galactus in the live chat says McLaren cooked today. Both got 8 points. Was dope. McLaren cooked and almost burnt the kitchen up, brother. They did cook. It happened to come out. It was a bit singed. They almost burned the kitchen down. Let's just keep it real. They almost burnt the kitchen down. Insured Frame says Verstappen doing what he got to do 4 in a row. Verstappen doing what he got to do. What you mean by that? What you mean doing what he got to do? What do you mean doing what he got to do? Explain, elaborate on that. Elaborate on that, Insured Frames. What you mean doing what he got to do? Something noted, no document created as far as Max Verstappen on the infringement on the safety car. I'll say this. I would totally agree with that. And I'd be okay with that if there wasn't so much clamor in both the Red Bull camp and Red Bull fans and Max Verstappen fans about how great Max Verstappen could do in the W Series Mercedes, how much better he would do than Lewis Hamilton in that. Also, how much better he would do in an AlphaTauri or a Haas. I would say that in comparison to all the jargon and all the words that were out there, Max Verstappen is underperforming. That's what I would say in respect to what everybody had to say. Okay, we see Max Verstappen still in one of the most dominant cars on the track, and he's not winning races. So I think there's a lot of people out here that need to say, you know what, we misspoke. You know, maybe we gave Max a bit more credit than we should have. Maybe more of that credit should have been in the machinery, because a lot of you all were throwing a lot of shade, a lot of hate. Not you, Insured Frames. I'm not particularly talking about you. You've been pretty objective when it comes to Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, all that. You've been pretty objective. So I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about a lot of delusional people that made these claims and talked very negatively about Lewis Hamilton working hard in his car and then getting some of the things he got and then not crediting him for it. I felt like a lot of people definitely owe some apologies out here right now, because Max Verstappen, in their words and in their eyes, he's underperforming. Okay, he's supposed to be able to do miraculous things with crap, and right now he's not in crap, and he's not doing miraculous things in according to that. But I do agree that although Max Verstappen sitting in a situation where some other teams are outperforming them, some other teams have possibly outdeveloped them, I do feel like Max Verstappen is managing the situation. I'm going to keep it objective. I can speak in regard to what we've seen and what people have said, but I will keep it objective and say that in regard to where he's sitting right now and the things that have been done, that, yeah, Max Verstappen is managing. Max Verstappen is driving very well in some of these situations. He doesn't drive well wheel to wheel, so I'm not coming off that because that's proven and that is what it is. But yeah, he's in a situation where he's in competitive company. He's in competitive company. Let's just be real about that. Max Verstappen is literally in competitive company, and this is what we're seeing. Max Verstappen is not in a POS car. He's not in a piece of crap car. He's in a car that's competitive. Only difference now is other teams and other cars with drivers piloting those cars are now as equally or just as competitive. And this is what you're getting from Max Verstappen. So I do think some of those words need to be retracted. Mechanic Mercedes says, Hamilton saying they're lucky is no GOAT in the MCL says it all. Thank you. That is a very good point. That is a very good point, Mechanic Mercedes. Helmut Marko, which I talked about this, and I don't really like to talk about Helmut Marko because of the vile and spewing things that he's done and said. I also don't like to refer to that comment because I think Helmut Marko was being messy and trying to throw shade on Lando using the GOAT, because often other times, when have we heard Helmut Marko just come out on his own and say something positive about Lewis Hamilton in perspective to another driver? Not often, if ever, if you want to find another account aside from this one. But I did say there's truth to that. Lewis Hamilton in a McLaren would likely be winning his 8th world title with McLaren, as he won his first title with McLaren some time ago, which would be a historical event. So, and Lando was definitely trying and definitely felt team orders should have been initiated immediately when he felt they should have. All right. Right here, you see him saying, yeah, I'm close. Okay, understood. Right then and there, I do feel team orders should have been, the swap should have happened then. Unnecessary risks were taken. Insure Frame says minimizing points loss. True. Also, as MV fan, I severs my agenda to say Lewis Hamilton is GOAT. True. That is very true. And I said that about you. If Lewis Hamilton isn't the GOAT, it makes MV Max Verstappen's 21 season less impressive. That's why I said you're objective. That's why I said when I made some of those comments, I clearly was not speaking about you and the things that you said, because you have been consistent on the things that you said in regard to Lewis Hamilton's greatness and respecting and realizing that, and also favoring a driver that you favor and you support in Max Verstappen, and not ignoring some of the great or some of the good things that Max Verstappen does on track. So you're completely in bounds for what you said, what you've done, and I do agree with your points. Mechanic Mercedes says, bro, this comment shows deep down he knows Max and GOAT not on the same level. I will say there's some truth to that as well. The comment was an admission. It was. And you know what, Mechanic Mercedes, my grandfather told me something. He told me something. He said, and it is a fact. It is a fact up until the point that I'm breathing right now. My grandfather told me that there is no lie without the truth. It's literally impossible. It's literally impossible to make a lie off of something that completely does not exist in some frame, fashion, or way. What Helmut Marko said, there's truth in that. And like you said, there is lightweight of an admission in that. Even if he never really wants to come out and directly say it, in his soul, in his psyche, in his mind of Formula One, he knows it to be true. He knows it to be true. He knows. Think about this. If Lewis Hamilton was in a McLaren right now and he feels like that would be a world champion, they'd be in trouble. If Lewis Hamilton was in a Red Bull car, he knows that Max Verstappen would not be world champion, given that both drivers are able to race free. And you don't get Lewis Hamilton not able to race free. You gotta hold him up, tie him up somehow, in some ways, like people believe Mercedes is doing. So yeah, I agree with you on that completely. I do agree with you on that. Also, if we go back here and just take a moment to look at this, how do you all feel? Because everything is kind of fragmented and everything's kind of gone after this, right? Everything's kind of all over the place. But how are you all feeling about Ferrari's chances tomorrow? How are you all feeling about Ferrari's chances coming up in the qualifying event? Just hours from now, we'll be back here live again for the qualifying event. Are you feeling confident that Ferrari are going to be strong at this race? Also, Mechanic Mercedes already putting his name in the hat for this Lewis Hamilton memorabilia, not once, twice, but 4 times in this live. Mechanic Mercedes has put his name in the hat 4 more times during this live to try to increase his odds and his chances of getting this Lewis Hamilton collector's item. So big shout out to you, brother. But I got to ask some Ferrari fans, where are y'all at? What are you feeling right now? Are you all feeling comfortable about Ferrari right now in this event? Are you feeling comfortable that Ferrari's going to knock out another pole position, a front row lockout, maybe a 1 and 3? Ferrari right now coming in 4 and 5th. And do not forget, Max Verstappen tracked Leclerc down. I'm not going to say it was a piece of cake, but it happened inside of 24 laps. Now, we do know Max Verstappen has a 5 grid place penalty. What you just witnessed was the ability of Max Verstappen to make passes on track within 24 laps and still be a bit stronger to just start getting close to the McLarens. So what I say there is 5 grid place penalty is not safe zone for McLaren by any means necessary. It is not safe zone for Ferrari by any means necessary. Ferrari needs to pick it up. Ferrari needs to be on their cues. Ferrari needs to make sure that they are going to absolutely put this in the bag, because right now, this is not looking the best for them. This is not looking the best for them. 4 and 5 in the sprint race, although you could say, maybe you want to argue and say, Wolfpack, this is not the most important race. You know, they don't want to risk damaging the car. No need to fight hard. No need to take unnecessary risk. They just got second in the Constructors' Championship. We feel like, you know what? Maybe strategy. Maybe don't push the issue. Save the car. Save your position for the real race. Qualifying coming up. Mechanic Mercedes says, MV calling Charles a mistake. Yo, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. How about Max Verstappen on radio, criticizing Charles Leclerc's driving? How about that? Mechanic says, I feel comfortable with Ferrari. I think a little optimization will get them there. True. I think that you have a good point with that. But Max Verstappen criticizing Charles Leclerc on track about his many mistakes, which I believe I have that frame shot. I believe I have that still shot. There it is right there. All right. Right here. Come on, Charles, man. So many mistakes. Max Verstappen is under investigation for safety car infringement as well, because he's done this before. This is something that he always done. This is something Max Verstappen does. This is something that he should have been penalized multiple times for in 2021, because he did it in Abu Dhabi, as a matter of fact. He knows this. He does this intentionally, okay? And they need to penalize him for it, because he's done it several times, and he needs to get a penalty for it, on top of his grid place penalty. Okay, this is not a mistake by Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen has done this several times, and it's getting old. All right? So, yes. And guess what? What people are going to say here is this. They're going to say, well, Wolfpack, he's got to overtake. That's not necessarily true, because in the race director's notes, there is something in there that basically says, we don't even want you to overlap. We don't want overtaking, no, but we don't even want you to overlap cars underneath a safety car VSC situation. So I don't want to hear any debating or any talking about, oh, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. He didn't overtake. He just got side by side. Yeah, that's called overlapping, idiot. And if they do penalize him for it, it's just rightfully penalized. So Galactus says Ferrari will be slow. Red Bull will dive bomb all day. McLaren may fumble the ball. Merc will be sleeping in house in points. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh, bro. That was a major, nice super chat. I got to read that again if you all didn't read it and hear it. Galactus says Ferrari will be slow. Red Bull will dive bomb all day. McLaren may fumble the ball. Merc will be sleeping. And Haas in points. I just got to say that if this does happen, you're an oracle. You're an oracle in the live chat. That is funny, bro. That is funny. Funny. So, yeah, people. And then we can go here. We can talk about Albon did well. Lawson did well. And Perez is doing what Perez does, lesser than. So that's where that is for that Red Bull camp. So you can pretty much rest assured that Red Bull being third in the Constructors' Championship is likely going to stay that way. McLaren and Ferrari are in the battle for that, and I'm wondering if Ferrari can make that happen within the next few races. We will see. But yeah, that's what we got for the sprint race. Actually, not that bad of a race, not that bad of an event. I don't think it was completely stale. I think the internal situation of McLaren drivers kind of kept us entertained. Max Verstappen pressing Charles, and Charles doing a pretty good job of defending against Max Verstappen in that sprint race, I must say, with the decisions he was making. And maybe Max Verstappen thought that Charles was making mistakes, but maybe he was just making sure he held you up as much as he could, and you looked at it like a mistake. All right? Because I don't think you're trying to correct Charles so you don't get by. 083 said, what's up, Wolfpack fam? 083 putting his name in the hat for the Lewis Hamilton giveaway. Big shout out to 083. Big shout out to everybody else doing that. So, yeah, I don't think for a minute, I don't be taking a lot of things Max Verstappen say like they supposed to be good, like he's trying to encourage somebody. Not trying to encourage you. Not at all. So that is what it is. And once again, let's talk about Aston Martin. I want to talk about Aston Martin because I'm wondering something about Aston Martin. Aston Martin coming in this race, finishing 18th and 19th. That's where they finished, 18th and 19th. Right now, I'm wondering if Aston Martin, since acquiring the services of Adrian Newey, have decided to strategically say, you know what? Let's chill. Let's relax. Let's not push as hard as we need to push. Let's not compromise our cost cap. Let's not compromise the cars. We got Adrian Newey. We're working on new things. We're about to become a full-blown works team. We have Honda coming on board. We got Alonso. They got Alonso. Let's get ready for next season right now. Let's start developing, spending money this season for next season right now. And then have the cost cap of next season to improve up on the development or the green monster that we're going to come out with. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I know that's a possibility, what they could be saying, because Aston Martin has been absolutely horrible in perspective of what they've accomplished prior to this. 18th and 19th behind Kick Sauber. A team who has not scored a point all season might go down in history for that. I just have to wonder if Aston Martin have decided to kind of take a backseat, purposely be disappointing to their spectator and the fans and the analysts of Formula One, all in hopes of financial gain, development, and coming out with a superior car next season. Will it happen? We don't know. Can they make it happen? We don't know. We know money is not always a fix for a patch. We know you can't always expect the best when you're putting your best in. So we'll see. Mary Beanie says, that's my card. End of story. Done with Merc Toto. Yo, Mary Beanie says she done with him. She done with him. Galacta says, what is the cost cap for next season? It should be $5 million left. I can look into the financial regulations and we can bring that up. We could talk about that. As a matter of fact, if we got some time right now, I could probably look into those and we could see what the cost cap is. I believe it's a decrease of $5 million every season until they hit a certain standard. But yeah, it's something like that. Matter of fact, hold on. Let me see. Let's see if that's up here real quick because it might be easy for me to find it. Let me see. We just need the financial regulations. Let's see. Full press. Let's go. If anybody else does know that in the chat, what that number is, feel free to go ahead and put it out there while I'm trying to look up factually what it is. Financial regulations are right here. The latest is published on October 17th, 2024. So let's see what that is. Let me find that. All right, so here we go. I mean, it's in there like a whole bunch of times. Let's see, 30. Let's go to that, 30. See what that breakdown is real quick, Alexa, because that's a good question, which we got some time. I mean, there's a lot of pages in this document, but I'm pretty sure we might be able to find it. Let's look up 135. Or let's look up 140 and see if we can find that, because I believe it's going to be in American dollars. All right, so let's see. You got the cost cap administration, adjudication panel, breach, sanction, obligations, the cost cap page. I believe it's 6. Let's see if they got the. Okay, here's the breakdown right here. U.S. dollars, present care money. We got Sigan Joseph with his first super chat, putting his hat in for the Lewis Hamilton memorabilia coming up. Big shout out, Sigan. You just got your hat in there. You got your name in the hat for that. All right, let's see. Just bear with me. So we got euros, pounds, 170, 189. Let's see. Where is it? The breakdown. Because it's supposed to decrease every season. There's supposed to be a decrease every season for the cost cap once we had started it. I believe it was at 140, then it's 135. I think it might be 130. I think it's at 130 by next season. That's what I think it is. But I'm going to try to scan through these documents real fast so we don't take a lot of time. But I think that is a good question because we're going to be talking about that coming up really soon in regards to teams trying to make sure that they're maximizing what they have. So it just really piqued my interest that you did bring that up. And I don't find it necessarily right here. So there's a little bit to scan through. But like I say, right here, the presentation currency, 215, 170, 198, which is between those the different currencies between the US dollar, pound, euros, and Swiss francs. And the breakdown I don't see it right now. Like I will find it, but I don't see it, or I've probably passed by it and didn't realize it. But I do remember it was going to go from 140 to 135 to possibly 130. I think it was a decrease of 5 million every season until they reached a certain number. So I would say that next season would be 130 maybe or something like that. So, but we can look it up later. I can find out. But also, you do have to keep in mind that there will be some type of financial adjustment and all the other stuff, but it is what it is, and we'll look for that. So, yeah, big shout out to that question. Big shout out to that suggestion, Segun Joseph, and we'll get into that. We will get into that. We will get into that. But yeah, as it sits right now, that's what we got. We're going to be here later on for qualifying. And Mary Beanie says cost cap will be adjusted by inflation. It will be adjusted by inflation, but I do know the structure of the cost cap was about a decrease of 5 million every season. So it's still around there. And and regardless of inflation, depending on what they do, they can make changes like Mary Beanie was saying. But the standard format was a decrease of 5 million every season. I recall that when I was looking through the documents when we were going through all that cost cap debacle about Red Bull. So yeah, people, we're going to be here later on. We're going to be chilling out. We're going to be here to see what the qualifying rounds are going to hold as far as who's going to be in position. Don't forget, Max Verstappen is already going to have a 5 grid place penalty. And if we look up anything else that's going to come out in these documents, we do know that Max was under investigation. The document for infringement or a decision has not come out just yet. So we'll be waiting on that, and maybe we'll talk about that in qualifying. So be here live for that. Galactus says, I think 135 or 130 mil next year. That's what I was thinking as well, Galactus. And that's what I was saying. 130, 140, 135, 130 next season. So yeah, that's what I was thinking. And big shout out to you on that. So yeah, all right, y'all. We got the sprint race. Not a bad sprint race. Some things to be involved with. Mercedes disappointed a lot of Mercedes fans. Ali Berman and Haas don't look as good as they've looked before, but this is a sprint race, not the race. We'll see what happens on Sunday and qualifying later on. T-Law is still looking good, and it looks like that was a very good decision to get ready Danny Rick and put him in that car. Colin Pinto is still, to me, exceeding expectations in respect to what Logan Sargent was doing. And Ferrari may have some people in question, but we will see what happens in the qualifying rounds. So I will see you all then. Wolfpack is going to be out. See you later. Do not forget, qualifying will be the last opportunity that you will have to put your name in the hat for the Lewis Hamilton collector's item. That is it. Qualifying, I am cutting anybody who does a super chat at qualifying. That will be the last and final time you will have an opportunity to do so. So if you're trying to get that, we're spinning for it on Sunday. If your name's not on there, it's because you didn't enter, all right? So big shout out to you. Wolfpack out. Peace.